and really just ask yourself, those deep questions that are difficult. Like I work with a lot of artists like all the time who make art and then they get really frustrated because they don't like the art that they're making and they don't understand why.
Hello, my name is Brandi Hofer, your host of the Color Me Happy podcast. I am so glad you're here. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. If you want more weekly content just like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on Instagram at Brandi Hofer Studios anytime. I'm happy to chat. That's where I sit. And I'm so glad you're here and I cannot wait for you to dive in. So give us a like and subscribe and check the rest of our channel out.
Is finding your style, which is so cool because I think there's it's really a frustrating stigma that and it kind of is true in certain regards that when you stick to one style or one thing or become very niche, then that is success, which is a great way to start with anything. If you're like YouTubing, Instagram, whatever, if you're consistent with this one thing and people know you for that, they're probably going to follow you for that thing, right? But if you don't give a shit about follows, which lots of people don't, finding your style, and if you're doing this because you just love doing it, is super fun and important. And I think it's by like trial and error and trying different people's styles. But I can't wait to hear your take on it. Like I love Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. It's an old book. And he just says, like, try everyone's style. Like, who cares? Like, go for it.
Yeah. So I think this is interesting because as an artist who I've taught online since like 2015, right? And I have experimented myself with so many different styles. And yet I feel like it really took me a really good amount of time to figure out what was actually truly me, right? And I do think you have to try lots of different things, lots of different mediums, lots of different processes, and really just ask yourself, those deep questions that are difficult. Like I work with a lot of artists like all the time who make art and then they get really frustrated because they don't like the art that they're making and they don't understand why. And so I just encourage a lot of artists to really just stop and ask, okay, why don't I like this? What is not actually working for me, And so that is, I don't know, like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah.
You get down to the core of why people are connecting or disconnecting from what they're creating, right? And or trying to reconnect something that, gives you the tingle in the back of your neck feeling of what is yours. And like you said, it takes a really long time to figure that out. And you can step into the shoes, whether it be for creative writing, creating a podcast, create whatever, a photography series, try someone else's style and see if the shoes fit. And then, you know what, along the way, your own style by what you suggested, testing out mediums, and playing in the studio with all of those. I think your own style develops kind of whether you like it or not, right?
Right. And I think a lot of times there's like this like awkward phase, right? Did you ever go through that where it's like nothing?
I go through it with every piece of art I make.
Well, yes, for sure. But I do think that, you have refined your process really amazingly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
once you
think,
start teaching, you're like, I've done this about 2,036 times, so I'm gonna
right.
trust what I'm showing you is gonna work probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But anyways, I know that like for me, I was I was struggling for a long time to really find my style, and I was in this awkward season of my own career where this was actually, I think, right before I started teaching. I was trying to make it in the art licensing world, which never really panned out
Oh,
for
fuck,
me at
it's
all.
so
It's
annoying to try to hit that goal.
it is so brutal. In fact,
Yeah.
I give kudos to anyone who makes it in that world because it's like competitive and cutthroat, and there's so much rejection in it, right?
Mm.
And so it's really funny, but I was working in Illustrator, and I was creating
If
like,
anything's gonna kill your soul, it's Illustrator.
I know, right? I was making, okay, so this is really funny. I need to like print it out so I can like have it to hold it up to people on podcasts. But I was making cute forest animals, Brandi, and it was like, I mean, you see my art today. Like that, my art is not, it was very childish, and it was a beautiful like illustrated style, but maybe for like a children's book or something. But it wasn't truly who I was. And I had gotten so sidetracked in this place of like making art for other people and making art that I thought someone else wanted from me, right?
Because you thought that's what defines success for you.
Yes, I thought if I can make it in the art licensing world, I have to do it this way. And I was, like you were saying, I was killing my soul. It's like I finally came to this realization because I recognized that there was something missing. Like I had lost the joy of creating and making something that I loved. And so I literally just I actually went onto Pinterest and pinned all these things that I thought would be like that felt like me, right? And it was like a total disconnect. It was like what I really wanted to be making was way over here, and the art that I was actually making was over here. And so then I like was like, okay, I need to go back to what I really love, which was honestly, I started doing a lot more abstract work, which then sort of morphed into my abstract florals that I do today, you know. But I think that, and
Which,
this
by
is
the way, I think are very licensable.
oh, thank you. Probably, but it's like I'm not even like I don't really see that as my goal in life
No,
as
you don't give a
success.
shit anymore. But someone might come along and be like,
Yeah,
hey, oh,
right.
I want to put that on a pillow for or whatever it's called. I try not to do that anymore. I try not to doom scroll into what other artists are succeeding in. I've set up my
Yeah,
foundation for my business and stuff because I actually don't have time anymore.
right. No,
Yeah, with the kids and
neither
the
one of us.
hockey and the things, and things are succeeding. I don't have to go out and grab, like, I just get to work on the stuff that I'm doing, which I'm sure you're in that position as well with online education and creating originals and prints,
Right.
etc. Right? You set up these systems at work. I want to go back to something you said though, which is a really great takeaway for the listeners, is that you were stuck in a place and you created a mood board on Pinterest
Yeah.
that kind of, and I always do that. In fact, when I go through my saved Instagram posts, it's either a save for something I can teach the kids in Art Academy, or it's like art that I love. So
Yeah.
I can go back there and like there is just like endless inspiration, and it gets me like tingly and wanting to go back into the studio, which I haven't done a lot lately. But when I do have make the time, you always have the time. I hate it when people say they don't have the time. So I'm not
Right.
going to say it. When I make the time in the next couple of months, I'm ready for that painting because it's been in like my head for,
It's been percolating. I
it's
just
been
did a reel on that.
percolating.
Like
Yeah.
most of my paintings are up here first, like so that when you do go into your studio, you have it all planned out almost, right? Or at least an idea of like, okay, I want to go in this direction and make a series along this, whatever.
And giving without like the procrastination element of like you're putting it off because you're scared. Don't like,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at understanding that because I don't quite have that button of scared anymore for making
Right.
art, but I know a
Yeah.
lot of people
No.
still have it. So if you're scared, just go ahead and do it and make the time. But when a lot of times, like, I do need that time and headspace to just sit on it and let
Think
it.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's good too. There's like a balance and knowing yourself and when you need the time and space and you need to slow down, or you need to get in the routine of creating every day because you're procrastinating because of fear, right?
Yeah.
I think showing up every day is a really great way to honor yourself anyway.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think we also have to acknowledge that there are different seasons in our lives where we have more flexible time, and yet I think that also, we can get so distracted by everything that we have to prioritize creativity, even if it's just in small little increments. Like, you can really get a lot done if you only have like 10 to 15 minutes, right? And you can do like 3 or 4 backgrounds, and have stuff ready to go for the
You can
next
make
time.
so many backgrounds.
Right?
Like it takes literally 3 minutes of background.
Yeah.
Or if you have kids, when my kids were really little, which I will be doing soon with Teddy again here, because he'll be in full-time school next year. So I want to do some backgrounds with him because I have a 30-foot roll of canvas. So what I do is I just lay it on the studio floor and they make all the backgrounds. So I can't wait to do that with Teddy. I did it with the other boys as well. Or paper backgrounds, like I show on my Instagram paper stretching all the time, and we did it yesterday in Art Academy. It's just like some watercolor, maybe some inks or acrylics, and like you don't have to touch it much. And then there's your
I love your
like,
backgrounds.
This, I know they could be, a lot of times I'm just like, oh, this could just be it.
Yeah, totally.
So it takes a lot of control to be like, I touched this 7 times fully and I just have to leave it now. Right.
Yeah. Right.
But you have to like do it to know how to push it too far. And when, it takes doing it over and over again. But backgrounds, you can just tape like 10 pieces on the floor at once. If you don't know what to do, just tape some paper places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magic will happen almost instantly.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a good way to overcome fear. If you're, and leave your phone out the fucking door while you're in your studio.
Yeah.
Like if you're stuck, don't bring your phone with you.
No.
And when you get in the flow and you're confident enough to record the whole process, then do that. But don't worry about showing the world until you know what you're up to in the first place. Put on some music, get loose, and just go for it.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, so much, I think, of that like procrastination has to do with like perfectionism, right? Like, and I see this all the time, is like, it has to be perfect. And yet, if you were to just like sit down and be like, okay, I'm just going to make some ugly art and I don't even care if it's ugly, going into it with that mindset and knowing that once you make lots of art, it's going to get better, and you're going to figure out your creative voice and whatever. So
Oh, exactly. And what you love to do. Heck, I didn't
yeah,
know I love to draw animals. And Teddy's like, let's draw alligators and tigers and crocodiles. I was like, okay. And then it only worked out because like, and people are going to, I know as soon as I put this class into the class, people are going to be frustrated that it's not like it's, but that's why I share the kids too. And I'm happy they all participated because I have done this 2,436 times with these same materials. So yeah, my tiger, even though I just draw human faces mostly, my tiger's probably going to work out because I've done soft pastels a ton.
yeah,
And I am trained as a fine artist. Like it's going to work out the first time because I did all the work and the steps and the stuff, which I see in our academy all the time. Like they're like, mine's not good enough. That perfectionism thing, because they see this perfect thing online, right? And you're like,
yeah,
yours, oh, I'm just like, yours isn't, it took so much, it took 20 years to get here, guys. Like 20 years. And
yeah,
I maybe should show them like where it was 20 years ago, because it was definitely not good.
I know.
It wasn't great.
I love sharing. I think in my mentorship program, I share some of my like older art pieces just to like give them some like hope that it gets better, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I should post that or show the kids. Yeah, like this. And I was out of art school, so I had trained as a fine artist for years to get what that was, whatever it was. And then like it was so bad. I was trying out encaustics for the first time, but I can't believe how long I stuck to that.
Oh,
Yeesh.
wow.
Yeah, it was bad. Doesn't matter. It was this.
It was a learning experience. And I think in some ways that like you almost have to try the things that you don't like to rule it out. It's like process of elimination, right? It's like, oh, I don't like that at all. Right.
Yeah. Or I actually just wasn't making it work. I thought I liked it. It was something. Yeah. But a lot of people have the collages I did with found papers and stuff with the wax. Like people loved those and they still have them and they smell good. But for portraiture, it wasn't the greatest. It's not the most greatest medium for portraiture. Well, I've seen some actually really great encaustic portraiture. That's not true. I've seen some artists really kill it with encaustics. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I've never attempted encaustic, and I had thought about it, but then it just seemed so intimidating to me. And so my version of something similar is just using cold wax over collage. So I'm like, that's easier. I can mix in the oil paint into the cold wax medium, and then I don't have to worry about burning myself or whatever.
I burn myself. I remember being like dripping sweat because I had before coveralls, because if I dripped on my skin or my anywhere, it was just like something. I don't know how I stuck with it so long, but it is what it is, right? So
So going back to when I made that like Pinterest board, like, and I can look back and see like what I actually pinned in that first thing, because I didn't add anything really to it after that. And so it's really interesting to look back, and what I think is cool is I can sort of see patterns of elements that are so me that I wasn't like picking up on, right? And so one of the things that I teach my students is like to really look at all the 7 different art elements and the way that each one of those are actually expressed in the type of art that they're wanting to make. So, you know, like, what is the line work like? What is the shape like? You know, what is is there any form? All of that stuff. And it's really interesting because like color is always like my driving force for my work. And then texture was in there, which obviously I wasn't getting texture in Illustrator like at all, right? And then just really simple shape, which I was trying to do in Illustrator, but it's so much better in what I capture today. And so it's kind of cool looking back. I can see like these patterns and themes of things that I was attracted to, but didn't really know how to express yet, right? And how to like pick and choose what I want, right? Instead of doing like everything that I see another artist doing, I can just maybe pick the colors, or I can pick like the way that they do their line work, or the way that they use shape, or whatever. I don't have to do the whole piece from start to finish. I can pick and choose the things that I love about it, right? So that was one of the things that I discovered as I went deeper into that. So
honoring the process and the materials that you're using. Yeah, I think that's so important. And that's why I love when artists leave like a story in their pieces. Like, say the line work was really beautiful, so you just added a little bit of like, and you started working, and then you just left some, because it's honoring the process. You're making art. You're not trying to make something that looks like that photo of that bouquet. There's already the photo. That is art. The photo is the art too. And however you're interpreting it and then expressing it in a whole another way and medium, like they're all important parts, but I don't like, again, dropping the perfectionism idea of every art should be fully finished, or it can't just be a line drawing. Like Da Vinci had a piece and he refused to paint it. He said, this drawing, it's just finished. Right? It was like a mother holding her baby, right? The sketch, it's a sketch and it's finished. But no one had done that. Like no one had presented a final piece that wasn't perfectly oil painted in that era. Right? But he was nope.
Aren't you so glad that we live today to where we don't have to only make art in one way, right? And that we're not stuck in realistic form, basically. And I think that's also like, I think a lot of like our culture and even like artists as well, being able to step outside of form being like the end all, right? Like this realistic sense of form where you're saying there's like line component, or you know, maybe there's like a little bit of shape mixed in there or whatever. And
I love your line work. I love, you know, I love raw, because I love your found your, what do you call it?
Papers.
Scraps?
Sketches on scraps.
Sketches on scraps. You know I love sketches on scraps because you have a found object, which I love found objects. I think they're so cool. Whenever I like see a broken down barnyard, I'm just like, oh, look at this beautiful piece of wood. Like it's just like my artist eye, like is just like, how could I ever capture this? What's happening all around, you know? So I love your sketches on scraps. I have one and it's in my collection, and I just love it. I love the pen color you chose. I love the scrap paper, and it can be so, it just can be so simple. Like people put too much pressure. That's why I ban graphite from my classes. Like, put down your pencils. In fact, this year was the only year, I forget what we were doing, and I'm like, I finally have to give in and buy some sketching pencils. I'm so mad because I'll always find them and they'll be like where graphite doesn't mix well with the mediums we're using, and they'll be like tightly drawing this almond eye, and I'll be like, stop. No, eyes don't look like that. We're using chalk pastel. Like, you know, they get in there with their pencils that they brought from their classroom, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm very supportive. Don't think I'm a control freak in art class. It's just like people are hooked on this idea of realism through graphite. And I hate it.
It's so funny that you say that, because in high school, that is what I did. Is I took a drawing course and did portrait pencil drawings. And it's really interesting to me because, first of all, like, I never loved that process. It was never fun for me. Like, it was like, okay, I'm doing this to get the end product, right? And it was never like enjoyable. And I wonder if I had taken something like a course from you or something where it would have been way more exciting to me. But
I'll have to send it to you. I think you'll love it.
What's that?
I'll send it to you.
Oh,
you know what, Joe? I did a version of it for Joe.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
And yeah, she says I had no one to pick. So they're like, if you want to let a few people in to your course, let us know. And I was like, I have no friends.
Sure.
I was alone on Christmas trying to get the course done, and my brain was too tired. That's what it was. And
when is it coming out?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
It's soon.
Yeah.
Soon. So I'll send you that version. It's not the same because I couldn't create the same course for it's different. It's for her.
Right.
It's like it's the process.
It's the same process, but different videos. Yeah.
Different video. Yeah, she wants everything, but it's different too because it's catered a little bit to her audience, which is like full of designers, and I have like paper pressed flowers and vintage collage, and so I have different elements that I did for her. My classes, I let you in there too. It's super just fun and freeing, and like teachers love it and kids love it, and actually everyone. There is not one person, and this is pretty good stats. Not one person has been like, I didn't get what I wanted from this. Like, I've never had that happen ever. So,
well, what I love about what your process is I loved, because I've seen you demo how you take the oil pastel rubbed on the back of the paper, and then you do your sketch like that. And I just love that because it's so like out of the box, and yet at the same time, like, you, without having those realistic lines, the success of your piece is really going to be hurting, in my personal opinion. At least it depends on what you're going for. There are some artists who want like really wonky lines that are like not realistic. But even for me, like, I like to have the hint of realism, and then you can play with the other different elements.
I agree with you so fully. It's just like you have your map, and then the pressure's off, and you just get to freely fly in this empowering way. And it's just another tool and resource. That's not what we do in the class. It's a version of, but I finally let it go and put it on socials. I've been holding on to it for years. It's a different way of doing it. But oil pastel, I put it on the social media because it doesn't smudge around like carbon paper, and it can mix with mediums, surprisingly.
Really? That is surprising to me.
Because you're sketching over it. So basically it's almost gone, by the time you start you're coming in with colored pencils next, right? So, which that doesn't happen with the carbon or the graphite transfer. Those like get mixed into and it dulls down I'm such a dork about it. I'm so sorry. I'm taking up our
No,
time.
don't. Like
It doesn't mix well. It like grays out anything you put on top.
Yeah.
So the reason I did the oil pastel, it's similar in portrait class, but it's more refined, so you can get like the most incredible drawing. The oil pastel is kind of the dummy down version, because that's a resource that's available in almost every school. Every school is going to have oil pastels, like crappy oil pastels. So that's I put that out to the world, because I'm like, how many teachers are gonna teach little kids this thing, and they're gonna get so empowered and psyched about this? And it's true. Every week I get, our class made this, and I cry every time.
That's so awesome.
But it translates to florals as well, right?
Oh, yeah. It translates to everything, right?
Yeah. Landscape, florals, animal, whatever your heart is like telling you. Even I, for some reason in the summer, was obsessed about drawing a shoe. And I did. And it wasn't like the best, but so many kids drew shoes after that, and it made my heart sing.
That's so fun. That is fun. Yeah, I give that option. I mean, I don't have a similar process to you, but like in some of my classes, I'm like, hey, if you want accurate lines in your piece that you're painting, you need to use a piece of graphite paper. And then you'll be surprised how many people are like, I can do that.
Yeah. Fucking the people that's every post that's gone viral, is people like, this is cheating, this is tracing. And it helps the algorithm, which is annoying, because if I'm not making people mad, and if I'm just making them happy, the posts don't go as far. If I'm not offending people enough,
I know,
with this process that's supposed to be fun. Oh, people are
controversial opinion.
Nuts.
Like, yeah, I hear you. I mean,
or using a projector.
Yeah.
Either those two things, freaking go for it. Like, doctors have a map to, like, do you want someone to go in blind into your body with it because it's easier? Like, and it can't be easier. Like, I know it's not as serious as a task, but why aren't we using the tools and knowledge at hand to move forward and be happy with what we're doing?
Well, and my whole thing is, so I have a kind of a different background in that, like, I had a brain injury from a car accident, right? And so before my car accident,
sorry to interrupt you. We heard, like, Wendy shares a beautiful podcast of her whole entire story. So I really encourage everyone to listen to it too. But continue. Yes.
So yeah, so I had a brain injury, and so it was like actually the left side of my brain that was injured. And so before, I was very much more like meticulous in my style, or in the way that I made art, right? It was like, those realistic portrait drawings. And then after, I became way more like creative and using the right side of my brain more, and able to just kind of like paint things out of my head, which I had never been able to do that. Like, I had to have like an actual photograph to paint anything, right? And so it's really interesting to me how, like, even my personality has changed, but like, I don't want to follow the rule. It's
your
like,
rule following part of your brain got damaged.
Yes, but like, that's why I think it's like, I don't want to do things that in my process that are not joyful. And to me, meticulously having to get the lines exact in order to make a painting and take like 10 more hours because I know I can do it because I've done it before.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the amount of like time and just energy that it drains from you. I'm like, why? Why would you do that if you can just do a simple, quick thing and then you can
Move on.
utilize it?
Move forward.
And personally, I think that portraits especially have
If your
to be
eyeballs off,
accurate.
if your pupils pointing in the wrong direction, people are gonna know.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, this is
They are,
just
and their brains
wrong.
go, this looks off. What about
Right.
it is off? And that's all they're gonna focus on. So people
Yes.
can shout at me that it's cheating as much as
Right.
until their voice is raw. Like, I will never stop skipping those time saving steps because I did hours and classes and basically a degree in figurative art and anatomy, and I can do it that way. I'm choosing not to.
Right.
I'm choosing not to, because
Yeah.
I have way more fun doing what I'm doing. And I gridded, and I did portraitures through gridding, and then
Oh, I hate that
and then the
idea.
eyes were still off, or the nostril was still misshapen, or whatever it was. And I went to Justin Ogilvy's class in Red Deer. The college I had attended, they had summer series classes, and I was pregnant with my second child, so I was well out of art school. And he's like, you love Andrew Salgado, you love this person. I know these guys because we're all Canadian artists. He's like, I know them. They use a projector. Why aren't you? And I was like, well, I was told it was cheating in art school. He said, so? Like, get a projector. He's like, yeah, we're painting from life here, and great, but like, because he could do it too. He can paint real life things, but he prefers actually to just make these really weird kind of, but really engaging pieces, and they're
Right.
not realistic at all anymore. And then he'll throw on a weird hat or something. Like he'll just like do it because he did it the one way and he decided he didn't want to anymore. And so,
Right.
and then I did that, and along the way somewhere I found my own style, but it was not until years later. And it was not until I started painting with my kids where I figured out this other process on paper, right?
Mhm.
That then I held on to for years, thinking I had to keep a big secret.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And then I got burnt out from doing too many custom pieces because everyone's like, I really love that. And then finally, very long story short, and a bunch of steps skipped. But eventually my friend came along and wanted me to teach her daughter. And so many things pushed me in the universe of, we need to share this. This was awesome.
Yeah.
And so fun. And now I want to do it more and more. I'm like, how can this get bigger?
Right. It's so interesting that you talk about that because I think that feeling of like, I have to hold it close, because I think that especially earlier in my creative journey, I was kind of like that, like, can't give away my secrets, that type of thing. But one thing that I feel like actually it has to do with this feeling of like lack versus abundance, right? And the more that you are willing to give and to just like, that's my attitude as a teacher and instructor, is like, I just tell everyone what I'm doing and how I do it, and I give away all my secrets because I know that the more I give those things out, the more innovation I'm going to receive, the more creativity is going to flow through me because I'm giving it away, I'm not holding it on, like I can't tell anyone, And I think you have to be that way as an instructor because people are going to copy you and people are going to have the same style as you, and you just have to get over it in a sense.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's totally shifted, and I totally agree. I used to hold on and feel that way. Right. And And now I'm just, when people send me stuff, I'm like, wow, like never does a thought go through that looks like mine, because it doesn't. Like,
Right.
it's another version of,
Right.
and it's like, I'm so proud of you for trying that. That's all that crosses my mind. And it's like, just gets me pumped up. And it's such a cool, and people won't get it until they get it. Like, they won't get that until they experience how that will make them feel. And you can start by giving away a little bit, and then you'll get the feeling, and then you'll give away a whole bunch, and then you'll just step into this really abundant life. And I don't
Right.
know. And then you start writing things down and they start coming true. And I don't know how, and it sounds like magic, because it is, but it's pretty great magic, and it's a great way to live your life. So I'm glad that you have found, and you find your friends
Right.
in that process, and people who believe in and support you. And then you're surrounded by this beautiful life, and then you're grateful every day. And then it just circles around and happens over and over again. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I came across the same thing with murals. I started painting murals, and by my last mural I did last summer, I'm like, I had that feeling again where I was like, I figured out how to paint murals. And yes, I can still make them and do really well. They're lots of work. But what if we instead, and I came together with a lot of women in my community, and they want to do a mural festival. I can't paint all the murals, but how do we make our city better? Let's do
That's
a festival where we and work together with people, and then that feeling is going to grow and impact more. And I think if people can just like sit down for a second and see how they can involve more people in what they're doing, and
Collaboration.
it will be good. It'll be good.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is like, there is almost like this super like competitive part of the art world, right?
I think that's
Like,
why I'm so burnt out. I got so sick of it. I did it for over a decade. I can't
yeah.
do it anymore. I'm a sensitive. Oh no, we lost her. She'll come back. We're almost done, but she'll come back. I know it. There she is. I lost you. You're back.
I don't know what happened.
Has a mind of its own.
Okay. It's all good.
You were talking though. Do you remember what you were saying?
I was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought we were talking about I thought you were talking about you couldn't do the competitive thing anymore.
Oh, right. I was talking. Okay.
All good.
Yeah, so the art world hurt my heart. Honestly, I don't give a shit if I'm represented by a gallery. I sell my own work. I think I've dropped all my galleries were great, by the way. Like, this was only last year. I don't think I was represented still by 3 galleries. Yeah, now I don't care anymore.
Right.
I don't know what happened. I used to care so much. It's such a like snobby place that I'm like, I'd rather do what I'm doing, and I don't care if you think I'm successful or not. And that's what defines success for me is what's important.
I think that like what's so exciting about the day and age in which we live is like, there's so many different paths that you can take for a creative career, right? And I think it all goes back to really finding your purpose in terms of what is it that you actually want to do and why are you called to do it, you know? And I think for me, like, I have just really gone more into this place of like mentorship in terms of like actually helping newer artists to like find their thing and like really just maybe even not feel so alone, right? Because it is so like hard to like make it in terms of having any kind of creative career, you know? And it's so like it has so much to do with our like mindset of like, you know, not feeling good enough and all the things that, you know, I love helping artists in their own journey just push past some of those obstacles, right? And I think that's like one of my favorite things right now. It's just so rewarding, like when things start clicking for artists or they start selling their work for the very first time and all of that. It's just so exciting to me. So but
Mm-hmm.
but you have to find that thing that's like part of your purpose and your why of why you want to do it in the first place, right?
Yeah, and every season of making and creativity will look really different for you, and you'll pivot, and some things won't work, and then you'll pivot again, and you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
it's another creative journey, which is another podcast for sure. So I'm gonna wrap it up with one final question sponsored
Oh
by Red
no,
Bicycle Communications. It's not a scary question. It's a good question.
I know.
Um, is if you had unlimited funds for your community, what would you do for your community in 24 hours?
Oh my goodness. I have no idea. What would I do? I don't know.
You could
I would have like
unlimited.
unlimited. I think I would just have like some big like art making bazaar or something. I don't know.
An art bazaar.
Yeah. I have no idea. Like that totally takes me off guard. Yeah. Something with lots of play and fun and experimentation, lots of art making, I guess.
Because that's
I
where
don't
you
know.
find joy and happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and you've got me thinking too. I was like, I would have also a Cirque du Soleil tent.
Because I said bizarre.
Yeah,
I
you
don't,
said bizarre, and that's like, and I was just because we went in Montreal in the summer, I have been following their like feed shows up, and when they're training for the like, they just shows them training all the time, and I just find Teddy's also very into gymnastics. He's never been to gymnastics, but we have equipment.
well, he's very active. So,
He's very active. Gotta keep him busy. So now I'm obsessively trying to be able to do a back handspring with him. And it's so funny. But so I'm like watching Cirque du Soleil train. It's at the top of my mind. But so like different ways that community can experience art, which brings us so much personal joy. And having them and art is food, and art is performance, and art is making, and art is like an immersive day of experiences would be really cool.
yes, very cool.
Yeah. Wendy, so good to see you again. Thanks for taking the
Yeah.
time to come on.
Thanks for
And
having me.
yeah, we'll keep in touch. And I'm definitely gonna you're my person on for I'll email Kelly and tell him all
Okay.
about I found a friend.
If you want to feel empowered and inspired, like and subscribe for more. And if you want to get creative, check out all our art hacks on this channel.